Guys, I am so excited. We have been working on this hoop house and obviously it's not done yet, but in between working on the hoop house, I've been planting plugs. So let's go inside. I'll show you what I have planted and what I need to get planted today.
Hey there, I'm Tara from Wild Bird Farm. I garden here in Zone 5 in central Iowa. I'm so happy you found my channel today.
I will do a video all about the specs of this hoop house. As you can see, I've named this one the Big Sister, and it sits right beside Little Sister that you can see over there. This is wider and longer and more glorious space inside. I'm gonna have my husband, I think, hop on the video with me because he knows all the specs. But obviously we've been working on the end walls and of course all of the ribbing, but no plastic on yet. So once we get the plastic on and everything is ready to go for the winter, we'll do a full tour. But for now, I've been working pretty hard in here and I will show you what I've gotten done. Now you'll notice 3 beds, which I thought just laid out best, having 2 walkways. I wasn't originally planning to have a walkway on each side, but I think in the long run and to keep weeds at bay, that's probably going to be my best option. Now this is just mounded dirt from when we tilled this up. It used to be grass, so it used to be grass just like outside here, and I've just mounded it up. The outside planting beds are approximately 3 feet wide, maybe a bit wider. The middle one is 4.5-ish feet, thinking that I can get to it from both sides and wanting to use the space as best as I can. The plants that I have over here have been in the ground for 2 and 3 weeks. So let's just walk through these. So this is the Magic Dianthus or Sweet William. I will put the exact name on the screen. I grew some of this from seed last year. I really liked it. So now I have a bunch more. I got a whole plug tray, I think 128 of those. Down here at the very end, you might be able to see this Dianthus is a little bit larger. This is some I had started from seed. I believe there's some lavender and white in there. Down here is foxglove, and I will put the exact name on here. I've never grown foxglove before. These plants, again, came in a plug tray. They were probably in the plug tray a little too long, but I will say out of all the plants, these are the ones that are a little bit struggling for me. So they don't look bad today. They went through a couple windy days and they looked pretty awful. I've had a little bit of dieback. You can see a couple holes, but hoping they make it through. This is the first time I've grown foxglove, so to be seen if I continue growing it. Now here I put in, I actually just did this last night. I transplanted a couple eucalyptus. I have one more I want to put in here. Everyone says eucalyptus transfers very poorly, and I don't disagree with that. However, in July, I had 2 plants planted out in the field that were just tiny, and I thought these are going to do nothing by September or October. And so I dug them up sort of impulsively, and I moved them to the little hoop house. Now, out of the 2 that I moved, one is iffy. I mean, it's still rooted, but it's looking a little rough. The other one looks like it's really taken. And because that one looks really good and like it's rooted in, I decided that I was going to move a couple from the field into this hoop house to see if I could get them to overwinter. Complete trial. I don't have a lot of hope for these. I do have hope for one of the 2 that I planted in the smaller hoop house. Down here I got some pansy plugs, and these little guys, boy, they want a flower. I just transplanted these about a week ago, and honestly, these plugs are already looking better than the foxglove, and these started out tiny. Like if you can see the smallest ones here, this is what all of the plugs looked like, so they've grown a lot. Now I did pot them up. I probably got them a month ago, and then so they were potted up for about 3 weeks just to put on a little bit of extra growth, and then they've been planted out here for a week now. We have not gotten rain for a solid 2 months, so I have been coming out every single evening and watering both of these rows very, very well. So now today we get to work in this row, and let me show you the plugs that I brought in for that. Okay, so in this, I believe this is about 40 feet long, and again, my husband will have all the specs when we get him on here. But I believe I have about a 40-foot row behind me, about 3 feet wide. Now, having all of these snapdragons, these are, I believe they're 216 trays approximately. Some of them have 2, actually a lot of them have 2 per plug. We just pull one out here. Healthy looking plugs, but you can see there's 2 in that one. Because I have limited space, I think my plan is going to be, just a second, there's a tractor driving by. Because I have limited space, I'm going to plant these pretty closely together. Now with snapdragons, you can plant them and sort of top them in the spring to encourage bushy growth. That way, instead of getting 1 bloom per plant, you're maybe getting 4 or 5. I've traditionally done that in the past, but I think because I am going to be a little bit short on room this year, I'm going to plant these pretty close together. I'm thinking about 4 inches apart, and I'm going to go for 1, or if there's 2 in a plug, 2 stems really strong, tall, and big, and sort of market them as premium snapdragons. That's the plan. So let's look at the varieties I have. This one is the Maryland lavender. All look really good. This one is a pink chantilly. This one is probably the tallest variety. And then this one, a little bit smaller, is the Maryland apple blossom. So we are just going to get started here. I will stop about midway through and show you my progress. But yeah, that's the goal for today. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the video where we talk all about our designing of this hoop house. Because while we did buy these ribs secondhand, we had to redesign the whole thing and purchase most of the pieces for the structure and for sure for the end walls. So stay tuned for details on that in a video to come very soon. Like and subscribe so you don't miss that. I used a garden rake to kind of mound the dirt. I have a smaller claw. We had a cat that liked to come through and kind of mess things up. So I'll use that a little bit on the edges of the bed. But again, I'm thinking about 4 inches apart. I have my spade, which I'll just make a little divot in the soil and pop these plugs right in. I found it's a lot faster if I pull out a bunch of the plugs and just kind of lay them. Easy to grab location. Sometimes I'll pull out the whole plug tray and put it like in a flat bottom tray just to grab from. But this is kind of my process, and then I just work my way down the line. The first, let's see, what did I do? I was doing the first row, my daughter helped me, and of course that went a lot faster when you had a second set of hands. Now, as you can see, these are pulling out pretty easily. I did water them. I've been bottom watering these plug trays nightly, and I did that last night. I wanted them to be well hydrated. I actually put some fish emulsion in the water last night just to hopefully give them a little bit of a boost as they're going into the ground for the first time. So I'm going to get a couple rows started and then we'll get a close-up peek here. Okay, here we are a few rows in. Looking pretty good. The majority of these do have 2 snaps per plug. Now, if I'm finding any that just have a single, I've been doubling them up just to further save on space. But I would say they are 4 inches, 4 to 5 inches on center. So I'm just going to keep plugging along. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is last night when I was watering the other 2 rows, I did come through and water this row pretty heavily, so there was some moisture in it. I can tell down here my first couple rows are pretty dry, so I might get those watered pretty quick here. I went and turned on the water. The other thing I realized I forgot to mention is, as I said, this is mostly just mounded topsoil. But I did add a couple of things to it as I was kind of leveling it off. Got the packages down here, so we'll just take a look. One is sphagnum peat moss. I put about a third to half in each row, so not too much of that. And then the other is this very economical compost I get, composted manure that I get just from our local Menards, which is a home improvement store. So I mixed that in mostly just as I was raking these mounds or these berms. So I am going to water down there at the far end where it is pretty dry, and then otherwise I'm just going to keep working my way this way, and I will show you how we end up. Well, that took a little under 2 hours. We got the whole row in. I have a few left over of the apple blossom snaps, and I am going to put those out in my row of snapdragons that I had this year out in the field. I'm going to see if we can get those to overwinter out there. So we just have this full, I believe it's 40-ish, maybe a little bit less row, full of snapdragons. I can't wait till the spring when they're all blooming. All right, I'm gonna head in and grab some lunch. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss the video coming up about how we built the new hoop house. Until next time.